Very good news from the Philippines this morning. Pack your bags and get ready to travel here. The state of public health emergency has finally been lifted in the Philippines. We're going to go through the article, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how that will affect all of us going forward, especially those who are looking forward to traveling, flying into the Philippines. Will it affect the requirements to be fully vaccinated or to get a negative antigen test to enter the Philippines for international travels? We will talk about that and how it's going to affect you in a number of different ways. So, President Marcos has lifted the pandemic induced state of public health emergency in the Philippines, but has retained the validity of the emergency use authorization on vaccines for 1 year to exhaust the remaining supply of the jabs. So apparently they've got a bunch of vaccines that they purchased sitting in different parts of the Philippines, and depending upon their expiration dates, and that's something that has changed over the months and years. They've found ways to extend expiration dates, I think. Anyway, the health emergency that caused helped promote all the lockdowns and restrictions upon the people around the world and here in the Philippines has been dropped. They will, so apparently they're still going to try to keep pushing the jabs. Anyway, under Proclamation Number 297, issued last July 21, all prior orders, memorandum, and issuances effective only during the state of public health emergency shall be deemed withdrawn, revoked, or canceled, and shall no longer be in effect. So that's good news. All the orders about travel restrictions and requirements basically are going to be dropped, apparently. Now, one thing about the Philippines is every LGU has a right to make up their own rules, and that was something that was very confusing early on in March going forward, 2020, because you would have trucks that were trying to deliver goods in some parts of the Philippines, and the LGU stands for local government unit, would say, no, you didn't get authorization to come into our city, into our province, so you're not allowed here. So these trucks are sitting out there, can't deliver their food to the stores, many of those stores being locked up. Only some of the large grocery stores were allowed. Just a little background. Former President Rodrigo Duterte, the last president, declared the state of public health emergency in March 2020. Down here a little bit later, Marcos enjoined all agencies to ensure that their policies, rules, and regulations would consider the lifting of the state of public health emergency and to amend existing or promulgate new issuances as may be appropriate. And down here a little bit further, last month, the government's pandemic task force issued resolution number 8 requesting the lifting of the state of public health emergency throughout the Philippines. And I have been checking the news each and every morning and each and every evening waiting for the dropping of this emergency. I think the WHO, World Health Organization, last May, and here we are almost August, last May, said worldwide is no longer an emergency. The U.S., which was one of the last ones, even before that, dropped their emergency rating and allowed travel, dropped the restrictions. So what is that going to mean for your travel? Earlier this month, Health Secretary Teodoro Herbosa said the COVID state of emergency in the country had been de facto lifted, noting that the wearing of face masks is no longer required. He said he was just waiting for the formal lifting of the emergency status. Now, I got a message from another vlogger down in Camiguin Island, and I asked him. I had people asking me, are there still restrictions on Camiguin Island? And he didn't think there was, but then he came back and he said, correction. There are still restrictions. If you're going to Camiguin Island, you still need to be fully vaccinated or have a negative antigen test. And so will that change down there in Camiguin? Not sure. Baguio City up north of Manila, up in the mountains, just in the last week or so, dropped their mask requirements. They had reinstated mask requirements a month or two ago, and they just dropped that again. So what is this going to mean, and how quickly will everything be dropped, the restrictions and such? Um, I expected this to happen a couple of months ago. Actually, I expected it to happen like 2 years ago, and there was talk a few months after this all started back in 2020. There was talk about opening up the economy again, and then well, for a number of reasons around the world, a lot of pressure, perhaps monetary incentives, perhaps a number of different reasons. Governments around the world, except like Sweden, did not lock down. People pretty much went about their lives. It was up to them whether they were going to wear any masks or not. For the most part, schools stayed open, and their infection curve and death curve was very similar to the rest of the world that locked down. There's another case, very, very interesting case in the USA, North Dakota and South Dakota. North Dakota had some very strict restrictions. South Dakota had very few restrictions, same thing. Almost exactly the same infection and death rates. So, what did the lockdowns cause negatively? What about the ongoing current excess deaths that are happening all over the world across most age groups, even young people having dropping dead, heart attacks, various things, and you don't see that in the mainstream media. It's not being discussed in the mainstream media. You've got to get away from your mainstream media and find out. This is government information. Excess deaths. If this many people were dying in any country because of a terrorist attack, for instance, it would be front page news. But thousands of people are dying excessively than what over a 5-year average continue to. What's the cause of this? There are number of thoughts about that. YouTube is still likes to censor that discussion, so we can't talk about it here. But you can find it once you get away from mainstream media, if you're interested. I've had a friend that I went to high school with, and I stay in contact with him, and he told me about some of the health issues that he has had, and he definitely thinks he's talked to doctors that poo-poo his thoughts about what's causing it. But anyway, let's get back to how soon will this affect your travel? How soon will the agencies here in the Philippines, will they drop tomorrow? Will they drop the vaccine requirement, the negative antigen test requirement to come into the Philippines, or will it take another week, another month? I suspect that it should happen very quickly, because if you've dropped the emergency, there is no legal right to have those restrictions any longer. Anyway, that's just a very quick update here. My experience and the experience of most people I've talked to, foreigners who've been traveling around the Philippines, they have not had any issues. A couple have told me that probably it's been a couple of months ago that they booked a hotel, and after they booked it, they found out that then when they received their receipt, I think it said, "Oh, you're required to have a vaccine or a negative antigen test." So they canceled those bookings and found a different hotel. I have not heard anything about that for about a month. So has anybody else had any experience like that? I did about a month ago. I had a doctor's office ask me uh, about that. They were going to do. I had a little cancer thing, skin cancer, cut off my head, and went to see another surgeon. He said, "Well, you need to go see another surgeon, get a little bigger piece cut out there, make sure we got it all." And they asked me that they were going to require me to get have an antigen test, I think, and a couple other things. And so I went to a different surgeon. So I think for the most part, this health emergency is just catching up with the reality here in the Philippines, because in most people's minds, people are trying to survive. These lockdowns really tore up families, tore up people's income and their health situation. And a year ago, 2 years ago, people were saying, we can't do this. We need to survive, and they were going about their lives pretty much. And so this lifting the health emergency is just catching up with the reality. The problem is that this emergency was what was keeping the vaccine requirement in place, and the antigen test in place if you were unvaccinated to travel here. So anyway, a deep sigh of relief. Finally. The Philippines has so much to offer. The welcoming Filipinos, the welcoming, friendly Filipinos, the beaches, and so much else. So much to see here. So I know there are hundreds or thousands of people who have delayed their travel here. They've traveled elsewhere because these continued restrictions. So hopefully this is the slower season. If you're thinking about coming, you can probably get some better deals in your hotels and resorts at this point in time. About October, November starts the higher season, and we will definitely see a little bit of an increase in tourism during that whole Christmas season, October, November, December, January primarily. So yeah, lot of good reasons to come here. The people, and just a wonderful country to visit. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. I suspect in the next few days we will get some more information about the dropping of those travel requirements for international travelers. And we'll let you know just as soon as I hear. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.